Hi, this is Master Ingvar Johannesson, and I'm bringing you today pattern recognition number 8, where we will learn from some examples, and then I will show you a rare pattern, but a funny one, and I hope you will enjoy. So before looking at the actual pattern that I want you to learn from this video, we're actually going to look at recent examples from online blitz games that I played, where I managed to use pattern recognition and things that you could have learned from earlier videos in the pattern recognition series. And let's have a look. Actually, I'm going to go from the start because the opening is a little bit interesting. It's kind of an opening trap. So we have a Catalan by white, pawn to d4, and here black goes b6. And this is of course playable, but there is a trap here if black plays the most normal moves. I want knight e5 here, but knight c3 is also a good move. Usually it transposes, but after this, knight c3, black should probably play knight to a6. This doesn't look like the most natural, but he played knight bd7. And after queen a4, it's actually not so easy for black to play here. White has great pressure on the diagonal here. You know, there's indirect pressure here, and great pressure on the d5 pawn. So what to do? It's not so easy. In the game, my opponent went knight e5, knight takes e5, took with the pawn, and he went knight d7. If he goes knight to e4, which is another option, we can just take it. That's one option. Maybe c takes d5 is an option as well. But in my opinion, black has some problems here. After rook d1, you must move the queen, probably to e8, and you're going to run into some problems with this pawn here on e4 after queen c2. Now, black kind of has to walk into this pin, and maybe even rook d4 immediately here simply wins a pawn for white. And to me, and in my experience, white has a nice advantage here, and I've scored well with this in blitz games and classical games. But okay, this is a little bit outside of the subject, but something for you to consider. But okay, my opponent took an e5 and went knight d7. The problem with knight d7 is, of course, that white is going to take on d5. The pawn is hanging, and if he were to take back like this, I take with a knight. And black's main problem is that we're threatening this, and the bishop hangs. If black takes on d5, I will take back with the bishop, and the rook is hanging, so I have time to protect this pawn. So in this blitz game, my opponent tried after c takes d5. This was my last move. He played knight takes e5, which is not a very good move. Now, I can probably play d takes e6, he will take on g2, but I have a much stronger move. And if you have seen my pattern recognition series, this was in the video number 1, you should not have any hesitation here. And in fact, I was hoping for knight takes e5, and I played my next move immediately. And what is white's next move? Pause the video and come back. And again, if you've seen the pattern recognition series, in video number 1 we talk about the undefended bishop on b7. So the winning move is of course d6. And the problem here is that we're attacking the bishop on g7, we're attacking the bishop on e7. You can't protect both at the same time. If you take on d6, I take on b7, and if you take on g2, like it did in the game, I have the Swiss suit taking on e7, and then I take on g2. So this is what happened in the game. I took a g2, and I'm simply up a piece here, and I won an easy game. Just because of simple pattern recognition. Now, this next example that I'm going to bring you, it's actually very satisfying. It's from a recent Blitz game, and it was only a few days after I published pattern recognition number 7. And I encourage you to watch that before seeing this. But having finished that, I already had an idea in mind here. I had the black pieces here, and my exchange friends has gone slightly wrong. I would say I would prefer white slightly, but I kind of figured out what white wants to do. He wants to attack, so h5 is a very likely move. So I'll play here rook a to e8, anticipating h5, which he indeed did play. And what was my intended response here? The natural move seems to be to retreat, knight to f8, but that does allow h6, which forces me to weaken my king position a bit with moving the g-pawn. But I had a better idea in mind, and if you have seen pattern recognition number 7, the Timon fork, you should have no problems here. And rook a to e8 sort of set that up. The move I played here was knight g to e5. It's not exactly the same, but the idea of sort of renewing the fork on e5 is very much like the pattern in the Timon fork. My opponent took an e5, I took back with a knight, and now you see that once the queen moves, I take on d3, and now you realize why I move my rook to e8. Now I have doubled rooks, and e2 will hang, so I have won a pawn. So if he moves the queen, let's say to e3, I take on d3, and then I take on e2, I won a pawn. But he tried to play bishop takes h7, which looks like a good idea, but on the other hand, it doesn't really change anything. I take with the king. He played king g2. If he plays a move like queen e3, I have several moves here. I have ideas like queen a6, but it's just not very natural to put the queen here in the line of fire. Even bishop f5 might be a good move. Must be a good move here. Threatening knight d3. This hangs. Everything is falling. So he didn't fancy putting the queen in the line of fire. He played queen g2. But of course that allows knight to d3 check. King c2. Rook takes e2. And actually I've already won a piece here. He tried to regain the piece, but after bishop a5 it's just made in a few moves and my opponent resigned. So an excellent pattern recognition moment there. If I hadn't just finished the video, I'm not sure I would have seen this. This is a blitz game, a short time control, but knowing the pattern, having just finished the video, this was so fresh in my mind, and I was just so happy with this. And I hope that watching the videos, you will have moments like this where you get a game, and you're like, oh yeah, I've seen this, you know, and that's how it works, and that's how I want it to work. Okay, so let's move on to the actual pattern that we want you to learn from this video. So moving on to the actual pattern in the video. And the first time I came across this pattern was in the great, no, great doesn't, you know, do it justice, the best chess block ever by Tim Krabbe. He's a Dutch writer and chess player, and he describes a moment where he had the opportunity to force the earliest resignation because of a king move. And his description of it is quite funny because in the diagram position he played king e2, but his opponent actually played knight f4 check, and as it happens, they set the board up wrong with the knight on b1 on c1 and the bishop on c1 on b1. So the knight on f4 couldn't have been captured. So what happened was they set up the board again. So instead of Tim Krabbe getting his moment in the sun, the earliest forced resignation because of a king move, he had to start again. But he was happy to find out that this position had been reached before, and the king move had been played, and the resignation had been forced. So no harm, no foul. So a quick look at this game by Krabbe. Knight f6. Not the most common move, but we're kind of transposing into a weird Alekhine, I guess. And after c4, his opponent played bishop b4 check. And now king e2 is the pattern. Bishop d2 or knight d2 look like the most natural moves, but our pattern is king e2, which almost forces a resignation because, like I think, you're gonna lose a piece. You cannot save this bishop on b4. Let's say you go knight e7. I'm gonna go a3. Your bishop is simply lost. b4 is equals to b6, c5. No more bishop. White is going to win a piece for only one pawn. And the other knight move, knight b6. I have c5 attacking the knight. Knight moves on a3. We're gonna win the piece. Okay, black might get 2 pawns here, but white is gonna be well ahead in development and material. So this is more or less winning for white. So we saw this pattern, and I saw this pattern on Tim Krabbe's page, but is it really relevant? Well, I didn't really think about it. But then one day, I was looking at the great chess website, chessvibes.com, and it turns out Garry Kasparov was playing a Samuel, and he played e4. His opponent played knight f6. Garry played e5, d4. We got knight f3, and then the horrible move g6, which isn't really consistent because you create too many black squared weaknesses. And after c4, you're struggling with your knight. Garry's opponent, Mr. DeVos, he played bishop b4 check. Now, a rare mistake by Garry. In pattern recognition number 7, I speculated that Garry made his mistake on purpose, not destroying his opponent immediately. But here, I think he simply missed this opportunity. And it's very natural. You're playing 20-25 people in a simul, bishop b4 check, moving a bishop to d2, blocking the check with the bishop or the knight. Looks like the most natural move. So unless you have time to either calculate or you know the pattern, you're not going to find the move. But the move here is king e2. And again, yeah, well, just the same as before. The difference is very slight, the pawn on g6, but it's all the same. The knight can't really find a square that doesn't block the bishop. And if you go knight e7, we have simply the a3 move, bishop here, and then simply b4 and c5 will trap the bishop. The other move is knight b6, but after c5, attacking the knight, a3 and b4 will follow, and white is going to win a piece. Seeing that this is quite a rare pattern, one would think that this would be the last time that I would come across this pattern, but no! I went to the Tromsø Olympiad in 2014, and believe it or not, in this selfie, Kasparov is in the background, which is quite funny because we saw a game where Kasparov missed his move. But yeah, at the Tromsø 2014 Olympiad, quite a funny thing happened. I went to the opening ceremony, and at the opening ceremony, I had the guy come across and introduce himself, and he was like, "Zip it, zip it." I was like, "Yeah, yeah, what's up?" And turned out this was a guy from Saudi Arabia, from all places. And he had seen my videos, and he introduced himself as a fan. I was like, really? I mean, completely unexpected and interesting. And later, in the first round, I went to see his game, his team, Saudi Arabia. And wouldn't you know, let's check out what I saw. So would you believe it? Having met this great upbeat guy from Saudi Arabia of all places, where I wouldn't have imagined ever meeting anybody from that place. But the world is small and chess brings you together. I went to look at his matchup. They were playing against Mongolia, and on one of the boards, this happened. Mongolia had the white pieces, Saudi Arabia the black pieces, and his compatriot played knight f6, and we've all seen this. He played bishop b4, and this is when I came to the board, and I just couldn't believe it. So, with black, Emad Al-Habib from Saudi Arabia played bishop b4 check, and with 2390, Basar Katalbatar from Mongolia, he didn't find the right move. And I came to the board and I almost had a grin on my face because I knew the move, but he played knight e2. Of course, you know, king e2 wins. Again, no difference, the bishop cannot be saved. Wherever you move the knight, be it e7 or b6, we're gonna win the knight. So, yeah, this is my story of a very rare but a funny pattern, kind of an opening trap, if you will. And okay, I mean, if this comes up in your games, congratulations, you won. If not, I hope you enjoyed the exercises and the stories and you learned something. But I will keep coming at you, keep watching. I will bring you more pattern recognition series so that you can learn and improve your chess. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye bye.